thank you all for joining this webinar. I think it's one of the first few in our webinar series that we're trying to do here, where we're trying to share a bit of information about some of the kind of products that you all use. So hopefully you'll find them useful. And yeah, if you've got any hints and tips or any feedback for any of them, just let us know. But yeah, this one, as we know, is going to be around mastering reports and documents in Sage 200. And I'm just going to share my screen up and start a slideshow. So hopefully everybody can see the front slide, which will say mastering reports and documents in Sage 200. And as I mentioned, yeah, this is going to be looking into just a few hints and tips, really, I think, about how you can get a little bit more out of Report Designer, get a little bit more out of the reports that you use in Sage 200, and hopefully show you a few things that you didn't know existed. I recognise a lot of names on the call, so yeah, really good to see you all. But for those who don't know me, I think it's fair to say I've been around a while. I've been Sage 200 accredited since September 2004, so over 21 years now. And in that time, done a bit of everything really. Started off doing supports, installations, simple configs, looking at some of the add-ons around it as well. Then I turned into kind of a consultant, salesperson. And again, for those who don't know, I was the managing director of another business partner, and I use Sage 200 kind of day in, day out there for about 10 years. So I think that's kind of when you truly get into the nuts and bolts of it and know what's happening. The change from being an MD to working at Kinspeed was purely because just like enjoy getting out and seeing new customers, learning about the businesses and finding solutions. So yeah, I get to do that more and more these days. Back to the webinar. The purpose of this is to showcase the value of the inbuilt tools that Sage gives us, so Report Designer and what you can get out of that, but also tell you about a few other things that are maybe the advanced solutions that you weren't aware of or that can plug into Sage 200 to give you deeper insights. For the agenda, going to look at Report Designer first, show you a few things that you maybe didn't know. Look at something called Excel reporting in Sage 200, which again I think is a bit of a hidden gem for those who haven't tried it. Hopefully show you a few things in there that you might like, and just gradually going through the gears with this. Then looking at some other automation tools and document distribution tools that can kind of, a nice efficiency increase in tools and time saving tools. And then we'll look at some of the advanced reporting, so dashboards, KPIs, kind of business intelligence tools. Going to go straight into the demonstration and start showing you around the system. So apologies for 1 second while I just launch this up, but hopefully you should be able to see Sage 200 there in front of us. Didn't have a camera there for a while, but I can see Carolina nodding. Thank you. So yeah, hopefully you can see that screen. So I'm guessing most people on the call know Sage 200, so I'm not going to bore you with my usual demos of what the system looks like. But for those who don't know, system administration can be accessed, Report Designer can be accessed in one or two ways. You go to the settings cog in the top corner and run Sage Report Designer if you've got the permission in your menu to actually be able to do that. Or some people don't know this, when you're actually running a report, just pick one at random. When you run a report, and if you're using preview to see that, there is actually an edit button up at the top up here that allows you to go in to edit that particular report you're working on at that point. So in this instance, I was running a sales ledger trading report summary. That's exactly what's come up, and I have my report in front of me, and I can work on this and tweak things or change things. And a few rules apply, which I'll go into in a second, but that's another way of getting into the system. Something important for people to understand if they don't, and is that within the system, Report Designer is built up of kind of three structures that it goes through before it knows which report to print. So down this list on the left-hand side, when you're in there, you've got a default folder which contains all of your letters, layouts and reports within the system straight away. If I expand this, in here, you'll see the usual things that you print. So an invoice, a purchase order, a credit note, a statement, those type of things. The naming of these is quite important. So it's a bit of a strange naming convention, but SOP space invoice single is what Sage will look at if it's trying to print an invoice out of the system by default. If though, for example, we edit that layout and we tweak something on it and we change it, it will then sit in the custom folder and inside the layouts folder in there and be called a SOP invoice single. The Sage will go through the stage of these folders to work out which document to print, and the same applies for if you've got multiple companies within the system. You can actually have layouts and reports that are specific to a company. So the rule of thumb is that the system will go through and say, does it exist in the company folder first? No. Does it exist in the custom folder? No. Does it exist in default? Yes, and I'll run that one. But if it sees it at any earlier stages, it'll print that one off too. So for example, to make life easy here, if you've got 3 companies and each time you send an invoice out, you want a different logo on the top of it, or you need different T's and C's or accreditations at the bottom of it, then that can obviously be applied and put onto those documents at a company level. If you just don't like the default Sage invoice layout and you want to customize it across the board, then you could just customize it and save it in the custom one, and then it will print that one going forward. So hopefully that makes sense. And this all ties up within the report designer look and the file explorer look and feel of this as well. So if I launch where the Sage reports live in the file explorer, they again live within the same structure. So if we go into default, go into layouts, these exactly are the same as the default layouts that we've got on this side over here. So that's the first thing to look at there. When I say that the naming of these is quite important, so if I open up the invoice layout, what we've got going on here is it's a file name called SOP invoice single, but over here on the right hand side we've got a report name as well and a report description. 2 things here is quite nice, that if you ever change a report and you want to call it something different, it's useful to change it over here in these descriptions too, so that it's easier to see in the list. But also if you do change it from the default, Sage isn't going to know to print that one first. It will always look for SOP invoice single first. There are a few rules where you can change that, but by default, that's the most important thing to remember. So if you're tweaking a layout, don't change the name of it too much unless you know what you're doing to go and point it to a new layout. While we're in this layout, invoice is quite a familiar one to most people, I think. The look and feel of this screen, although looks quite complex in this central part here, we've got ability to add text boxes, draw lines, draw boxes, add images, add data fields. We've got headers to the report, footers to the report, and it's useful for you to know that you can actually build reports within reports when it comes to that as well. So there's a lot of complexity to this. I won't profess to know anything like that level of it. And on the layout itself, we've got 3 types of text really that are useful for you to see. There's these boxes that are called expressions. They may or may not be useful to you, but these are used for things like if anybody uses Drace's tool, Spindle document distribution, where it tells you when you're printing an invoice what to go away and do in another program. You've got text boxes. So for example, these ones here that are just free text, we can click into these and we can change these and delete these at our leisure if we want to, and also move them around. And then these are the ones that require a little bit of kind of database knowledge, but you'll get the gist of it if we look into it. These are the SQL fields, so the database fields in the back end. So in this instance, this is an invoice, and what we're saying here is this document number is going to be our invoice number. So if we click into that, this is actually looking into the SQL tables. Don't worry, everybody, I'm not going to go too technical today, but it's just showing it's the SQL tables. We can actually add and remove things through this and change this around if we want to. And that would be added by adding a data field. So that's what it means by a data field. That's what they are down there. Again, most people have seen an invoice, but just to show you, these are the sections that it pulls through. So this would be our item lines on our invoice, our totals on our invoice totals, our VAT details, and other things on there. And even though this looks quite messy, when we preview it, there are a lot of fields on here that are what are called conditional. So they will only print if there's certain things being matched or certain things to happen. Over here on this right-hand side, you've got a few other bits of information as well to talk about whether you do want to print it, whether you don't want to print it on a screen, this, that, and the other. And other tools along the top to enable them. We'll go into in more detail in a bit to give us more kind of flexibility around how the reports look. The useful thing for people to know if they're editing an invoice is that you can click on this preview button down here. Let's say we move a field around and we want to see what that looks like. So just randomly, I'm just going to move that one down there and see what it looks like. If I click on preview here and just say I want to preview a sample of one of these invoices to see what it looks like, this comes out and actually shows us what that's going to look like when we print it. So as you can see, I've moved that field way down there and it looks a bit strange now. So I can actually, if I wanted to, move it back on here and move things around on here. Not many people know that. It's quite, I used to work a lot in kind of tweaking people's layouts in the config time of my life. And when you're moving things around and you're trying to get them to match up, it was a nightmare. You had to print it off and then put it back in again, print it off, put it back in. But this is really useful to know that you can actually change things on here. You can move things around and say, I don't need that there, or move that. And I'd like that to be a bit more aligned with kind of this bit over here so you can move it. And it actually makes the change on the layout itself as you're working on it, that you can go back to this and then work on it and do other stuff. So that's quite a lot of the look and feel of it. Not going into too much detail today. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it a bit short and snappy, but we can go into more detail in further sessions if people want to, or even a part 2 where we get a bit more technical. With this invoice, just going to show you what it's like if we tweak some stuff on it. So for example, I'm not going to use the spindle stuff today, so I'm going to get rid of that. These fields here are a bit weird because they're just floating around and there's nothing against them. So I'm going to copy this box above. Nice little tip for you here. You can add a text box if you want to and draw it in there and then start typing in it. But I always think to keep the look and feel the same, it's easier if you just copy and paste an existing one. So usual Control-C, Control-P if you want to, just copy that around. As you're moving this field around the layout, if you notice these lines there to help you kind of make sure it's matched up to the other parts of your document. So that's quite nice when you're doing it. And if you double click into that, and let's call this one invoice number. Again, I'm not going to do this too much, but I'm just going to chuck a few things in here just to show you. We'll have dates in this field. And what most people want to do is this information up at the top here is our own company information. So it's pulling that from Sage 200, which is great, but it's not a really pretty look and feel on an invoice, is it? So I'm just going to delete all of these and I'm going to add a logo. So to add a logo, you can just click add image or logo, draw the box where you want it to be. Then it asks you where you want to get that logo from. So you can pull this in from somewhere else, but I've got a copy of it Blue Peter style on my desktop already. I'll grab that logo, stick it on the screen, and I can move it around if I want to. I can chuck around with the kind of colorings, make sure it's all lined up. And again, something else that people like to put on is bank details. So let's stick it on quickly and just put some random bank details, sort code, that kind of stuff, as you can see there. So again, I want to make sure that that looks all right. I'll get rid of that box because I don't need it. So I'll do a quick preview. Again, I'll just sample it. And again, once this comes up, you can tweak things on here if you need to. I know the font's wrong on that, and obviously in time you would change that, but yeah, that looks good to me. So if you're a novice at report designer, the nice thing for you to know is that when you click Save As, it doesn't let you save over the top of the existing one. So your default reports are always your default reports. I take a copy of them anyway, just to keep them on one side, but we can get them back because they are very much generic across the board for all Sage 200 customers. But if you notice when I'm doing File and Save As, it's trying to put this inside that custom folder for me. And I've already got one here that I've done before, but I'm just going to save it over the top of that one and click Save. So to recap, I've opened up the default Sage invoice layout. I've made some changes to it and it's saved it as a custom Sage invoice layout. As I come out of there, minimize that, just to show you what that means now. If I go into sales order processing and I print an invoice, it should come out looking like the one I've just changed it to. So I've got preview set up, just printed an invoice, and there we go. There's my Kinspeed logo, my bank details on there, and my two fields for the invoice number and date. So as you can see, not taking too long to do that, and obviously you might want to make it a little bit neater. You can put logos at the bottom, you can do different things on there, but it's a way of showing you how to quickly tweak and change an invoice. The next thing we can do, which I don't know if people are aware that you can, is if I go back into Report Designer, and let's say I've got one customer who doesn't like it when I put my invoice, my logo on the invoice, or they want something specific on their document. So if I go back into my custom one, I'm going to take that back off, and they also don't care about bank details, and they never want to see the settlement days option, and they don't pay VAT, for example, just something daft. I'm just trying to make some easy changes so I can get rid of it. So they've tweaked this around a little bit. Let's also say that they're a bit weird and they like the kind of their address details in the middle of the screen. If I do File and Save As with this one, what I can do in this instance, strangely enough, is give it a different name, because I'm not asking it to use this invoice layout when I'm doing a normal invoice, and I'm just going to give it a different name and save it in my custom folder again. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to upload that into the system and specify that a certain customer always uses that invoice. So within sales order processing, SOP maintenance, maintain invoice layouts, I can add my custom invoice layout into here. And then from my customer list, I can go and find the customer that I want to add this for. So I'll go and find Cherry Limited. Go into the documents that they use. And again, so people aren't aware of this, against every customer, you can specify whether they use the standard invoice layout, the standard credit note layout, or the standard statement layout, or you can specify that they use one of the ones that you just uploaded. Now, I didn't give that a very good name when I uploaded it into the system before, but that's the second one I've just just added to the system there for them. If I save that and go and reprint an invoice for Cherry, I'm hoping we're going to find all those weird things that I changed on that layout. Yeah, address up there in the middle of nowhere. I think we've removed some things from down the bottom. Yeah, we've got rid of all the VAT stuff, got rid of the settlement days. So it's just changed that invoice for them. But if I printed any other invoice out, it would use the default one. So that's how you can add other layouts for other customers and specify that they use those as well. On to more kind of reporting tools. So again, I'm sure people are aware with inside every module, you've got a reports folder. If I run a report, these fields here are called criteria. You can add and remove these from within a report as well. So if I go back into reports, go back into a layout, up at the top here, we've got something called criteria. This is the list of questions that you're asked every time you run a report off. And by default, I don't know why they do it, but they disable quite a few of them. So you tick the box to say show disabled, and then it adds all the ones that are pre-built in the system for you. Or you can create new ones, but it does require a little bit of database knowledge. So when I'm running an invoice, I could ask it to always ask me for the order number or a return number or something else if I wanted to. However, when I'm running this off, you can go in every time and you can change these settings. So let's say I only wanted to look at invoices for this trading report. So only show me invoices, not credit notes or receipts or anything, and only show me for these accounting periods. But that would get quite tiresome if you had to do that every time. So I'm not sure if anybody's aware, but you have got an option to save some criteria settings and reload them. So I have already preset some and called it just report criteria. And when I click on that, it'll pull that through for me. You can then make that as long or as complex as you wanted to, and you can create as many of those as you want to, and it just recalls a set of saved criteria that you want to run previously. It's quite a nice little time-saving tool if you're running the same report off every month and it's the same settings, really. So I used to do it on a monthly basis for my month-end reports, my management account reports, that type of stuff. And this is the view that you get on screen. Quite nicely then bringing me through into kind of what you can and can't see on this screen also. So most people have probably used print before. A lot of people have probably used export before and saved a copy as a PDF, but there are a couple of other options up here that you can do. Varying degrees of kind of we like them or we don't like them, but they're there and you can use them if you want to. So what we can do is we can click report to Excel, which what this technically does is just displays all of this data in the same version and the same format in an Excel document for you. It's good in a way that it looks nice and neat, but it's also quite bad, I believe, in a way that you'll see in a second. All of these columns and rows and everything are just a nightmare if you had to try and do any filters. So most people would do this and then delete the first 3 lines anyway, but it's a neater way of getting it into Excel if you want it. The next option is data to Excel, which is a little bit tidier in terms of the whole filtering because it comes out with the filters pre-built in, but you probably do need a little bit of knowledge of the SQL data because it's referring to some of the SQL fields. So SL being sales ledger, SIS being your own system company, SOP if it was sales order processing, that type of stuff. But again, it puts it into this pre-filtered format for you. And the third option, which is in export, is you can export it as a CSV, which then just pulls it up as a kind of obviously comma delimited file, and you can kind of open it that way and it removes things. So you can get your data out in those ways too. Inside Report Designer, there are also tools that you can specify what data is displayed when you export to CSV, but I'll not go into that kind of info as well. It's just another way of kind of allowing you to edit what the output looks like when you do it. So it could look one way on screen and look another way when you report to Excel. So that's one thing too. Just referring back to my notes to see where I'm at. That gives you those options. So yeah, hopefully that's quite useful, showing you those bits so far. A little nugget here that I'm not sure some people are aware of is as part of your annual Sage 200 license, Sage very kindly give you access to what they call their report library. I'm going to open this up and hopefully show it you on screen. We'll share the link or you'll be able to find it in there. And there is a report design service that Sage will do for you. You can literally book a session with one of their report designer specialists. They will sit down and talk to you about what you want, and then they will write you that report. And you get, I think it's up to 3 free of charge of those per year as part of your subscription. As part of that as well, you get access to this report library where everybody who's ever had a report done before gets put into this library of reports that you can then go away and look at. And the most recently added report is at the top. If you go into Sales Ledger, we've got other types of reports that people can look, and you can view these and see what they look like. So click on View Report, gives you a display of what this looks like on the screen. Hopefully, it's probably going to ask me to sign into my Sage account here, maybe. While that's loading, I'll go back. But yeah, there's loads and loads down here, one of which I quite liked the look of, that I'm going to actually kind of upload and show you how to put in, because what you can do with these is you can download them, upload them to your system, then view them within your system and kind of use them going forward as well. So that's what. It's not really a very good report. Apologies for that. So yeah, we'll show you the one that I download and put in. So I will download the average days to pay invoices. I think that's why it was doing it. I've not signed in this morning. Cool. So pops up on screen. Download it really easily. We can obviously assist you with all of this. The bits I'm going to go through it to show you how quick it is real time, but it does require a little bit of kind of system administration knowledge. But what I'm going to do is I've taken a copy of that layout. I'm going to paste it into my Sage 200 server. I'll put it in a normal location because again, it is going to be a custom report that I maybe want to go into and edit later. So we're in our reporting folder, our custom folder, our reports folder, and within sales ledger. So I'm going to paste that in there as average days to pay. Little tip is highlight it and copy the name of that because you're going to need it a few times over the next few minutes. In System Administrator, for those who haven't seen it, you get a list of things called features, and this is all the system screens, menus, anything you want to in the system. What I'm going to do is put this report I've downloaded into my sales ledger, into my reporting folder, and you add a feature. This feature we're going to call the name of the report. Once we've added it, it's in there. And all we're telling this feature to do is when I click on it, what does it want to do? What do I want it to do? I want it to launch that report I've just downloaded. So what I'm saying is this is going to be a report that I run. And when I click on this button, I want it to launch the report I've put in my reports folder in sales and there. That's set it up on my menu. The last thing to do is to enable people to be able to run this. You can pick and choose which people in your business are able to run it. These are all the roles and the user permissions that we've got for making my life easy today. I'm going to make it available to everybody, but you can obviously pick and choose who gets access to do this. And then I need to add this to the menu in Sage as well. So within my sales ledger, this is my menu here. I can edit. I can click on sales ledger, click on reports. I can add a new menu item into here. From my features that I've just added inside my sales ledger, reporting, there's my report, and I can click OK. That's put it onto my menu. So now inside there, inside my sales ledger, inside my reports, I've now got that report that I downloaded from the report library and uploaded into my Sage system. I've got to log out of Sage and log back in again to run it. Shouldn't take me too long to do, but I'll just run it just to show you. And there are loads on there. If you notice when I was inside the report library, they were going to have all split by modules. So you've got sales ledger, you've got purchase ledger, you've got stock, you've got all sorts, some kind of month-end ones, some management account ones, really good ones. And I was on site with somebody only a few months ago, and they were asking us for a report and if something existed, and we just by chance looked in there, found the one that they wanted and uploaded to them straight away. Saved them having to pay for us to write it for them, paid for them having to learn how to write it themselves, and also saved having to set up a system meeting with Sage as well to discuss it. So here's that report, and it just comes out looking exactly what it is. A bit of a strange one, but it's nice and simple, doesn't run too far, and this is just showing me for all my customers what's their average days to pay. So hopefully that makes sense. And apologies a little bit whistle stop, but again, like I say, we can go into more detail if anybody needs it at any point. One thing I really like that's coming quite recently that everybody gets in the menu, but I don't know if people use, is something called Excel reports. So obviously when we printed a report before, we could export it to Excel. That's okay, but then you get the data out and it's static and it's there. What Sage have brought in is what I like to call a bit of a halfway house between kind of static reports and kind of your dashboards and your kind of, your flexible reports. These are the reports as they exist, and you can tweak these, change these. I'll show you in a second, but just to show you one as an example, what you would generally do is go in and click update, then it goes away and looks at the latest data from the SQL tables and pulls it into that report. Then you can view it. And by viewing it, it just launches Excel on your machine that you're working from. What you might like about this report, though, is that it comes out with quite a lot of nice pre-built filters. So this is a customer transactions report, and already it's pulled through all my accounting periods for the year, prior year and current year, all of my transaction types, my analysis codes and other analysis codes, currencies, and a lot of other things in there as well. So let's say this is everything for every customer. If I just wanted to look at period 6, I can just click on that and it shrinks the list down straight away to show me what's in that list. Down at the bottom, you've even got some nice kind of graphical examples of all of this as well. So sales by period, and again, the same filters that you can plug into. Top customers, so a way of looking at all of these, and again, seeing different things and filter by it. And all this is doing is dragging the data out of Sage and pulling all the transactions into this kind of template, and then displaying it in pivot tables and other things for you along this way. So going back to the beginning and on this report here, what you can do if you want to is right click anywhere in this document, click show field list, and add or remove columns from this list as well, just to make it neater and tidier. So if we never really care about query, I can go into there and I can find that in the list and I can take it out, and straight away it takes it out. Not really about URN because that's a bit of a strange one. Not really bothered about exchange rates, those kind of things. You can make as many changes to this as you want to. Then you can save this as another layout, put it on your desktop, whatever you want to call it, as test. Close back out of this, and you can upload a new one from the location that you just saved that to. So I don't know where I saved it, to be fair. I think, but you can upload it and it would have remembered those changes, the columns that you added, the columns that you removed, the fields that you changed. So next time you ran it, it would be an additional report in this list that you could look at. Some of them are, as you can see, customer based, some supplier based, some stock based, but one of the ones that's quite popular is a nominal transactions report, and getting you into kind of like financial data, kind of your month end reporting, that kind of stuff, trial balance. Really handy report, comes out in a really good format straight away, and you can obviously save this, move this to one side, and keep filtering it as much as you want to. So yeah, quite nice stuff. Not many people know about that. And then finally within Sage, again, not sure people know of these, but there are things called workspaces, and then they give you some inbuilt summaries, sales summaries. Now, depending on the quality of your data, luckily for me, I've got some new demo data from Sage, so this doesn't actually look too bad. But we've got some sales summaries to show us our kind of company turnover for the year. These can be restricted for people who don't want to see it and do want to see it. If we scroll down, we've got outstanding debt, top customers, but not many people realize you can actually drill into this. So as you can see here, I've got an overdue column. So if I click into that overdue column, it then splits it down by the customer that actually owes me that debt. So if I then want to look into that one and say they owe me the most, click into that one again, it will actually launch the data that actually makes up the invoices that make up that date. And again, from within here, you can right click, you can export to Excel, you can print, you can do other stuff. So it's all kind of enabling you to get more out of this data and print it out and do something with it if you want to, and view it in different ways. Again, in the financial summary, we've got an ability to look at profitability, VAT, creditors and debtors, budget variances. They've gone to town on the kind of types of reports that they're showing and the kind of type of graphs that they're showing you on here. Sales reports, purchase reports, you name it. So I encourage you to have a play in these if you've got access to them, and if you haven't, or you want certain people in the business to have access to them, just tell us, because they're already there. You might as well look into them and see if they're any use to you or not. And again, they're all quite interactive, so I think quite nice. And I think that does me for the Sage part. I'm going to move into a couple of the little bits now of tools that I love and I use. I don't know if anybody has Spindle document management on this webinar, but there is a Cycon version of it as well called Cycon Documents. I'm just going to use the Spindle one. It's probably worth its own section by itself, but for those who don't know, it will take the printed document out of Sage 200 and do whatever you want to going forward with it afterwards. So it will send it to the customer, it can CC a copy into your accounts team, it can store a copy of that document on your network somewhere, it can print a copy off with a barcode on it, and it can capture it back against a transaction in Sage. Even kind of do HTML emails, make things look a little bit nicer for you as you're sending it out. And if you remember on my layout, I told you about these expressions up here. This is all it's referring to really, so you can tweak this. So up here, we're looking at an expression called sales invoices, which means in Spindle, it's going to do whatever it tells me to do in there. And you just set this up. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just as an example of what it can do. If I go into Sage, come out Report Designer for now. Print a purchase order, which I think is quite a regular thing that most people do. Print this purchase order. It previews on screen. I can set it so that it will always default to use my Spindle printer. That's what Spindle is. It's a printer, but this one isn't. So I can set it to go to Spindle, and then I'm just going to let Spindle do the rest. So you might notice in a second a little box pops up at the bottom. This is Spindle kicking in, and what it's doing is process basically. So it's trying to email it, which for this purpose, I've got to allow access to my email for it for 1 second. Then it's going to archive it for me. So that purchase order has done nothing else. I've previewed it on screen and printed it to Spindle. But inside my Outlook, I've now got a draft email with a purchase order email to my supplier with my signature on, with some wording on it. It's actually pulled through the supplier's name from the supplier account. It's pulled through the supplier email address from the supplier account. I'm CCing in my purchasing department in my own company. And within here, I've not only got my Sage layout, but I've also put what's called a form over the top of it. It's a rubbish form. It's what Dracer gave us out of the box, but it's a green form with some green boxes on it just to show you what it can look like. And this is what you could make your layouts look like if you wanted to. So obviously put your logo on the top and create some colors, create some different types of layouts for different customers or suppliers that you're using as well. The last thing that's done for us that I think is really good, because obviously everybody's conscious of the environment and printing paper and not wanting to waste stuff, and also to save time. Purchase order 3272 is this order. If I go to my purchase order list and I search for that purchase order, if I double click into here, not only has it sent it out to the supplier and sent it to my email for me, it's also attached a copy of the PDF that the supplier received into the purchase order itself. So if I click in here, it's one I did yesterday as well as this, which is why there's two documents, but click into here, here's the version of the PDF that I just sent out. So that can be done for sending out quotes, sending out invoices, sending out statements, sending out purchase orders, for goods receipt, for anything you name it. And I've had a few customers that have stored every single document throughout a process from quote through to invoice, all in the same place, no paper whatsoever. And it's just a nice way of building up to make sure, you know, if somebody wants a copy of this or you need to see what was sent, you can actually go in there and find it. And again, more than happy to show people that in more detail, because it's kind of one of the best products I think I've worked with outside of Sage for the last kind of 20 years or so. But yeah, really handy, I think, for people who are trying to get more efficient and get rid of paper. I think, again, that sums up kind of where we are with the Sage side of stuff. So I'm doing okay for time-ish, I think, because the next bit we're going to go back to is this presentation, just to kind of talk about some of the advanced other tools that we could use out there. So as a bit of a recap, we've looked at Report Designer, how you can hopefully move a few fields around, add a few fields, add logos to it, the rules around saving it and how it all works in the system, going through the company, then the custom, then the default folder. Excel reporting, hopefully you'll all have a play with that and see what that looks like. Report library, hopefully you'll see what they offer and upload some of those to it as well. And then the document automation tools, that goes back to that first three lists I was showing you. Document automation, document capture, I think is a real big thing these days. People loving to kind of, you know, save time and save paper. Off the back of all of these, there are a few things, again, that are just kind of, these are off-the-shelf products, people that we partner with, but just nice for you to know about. There's something called Spindle Report Scheduler, which is, again, by the same people who do Spindle Document Management. It's an automated way of scheduling the production of the reports that I showed you in the Report Designer part of the webinar. So if you always want to print off a P&L and a balance sheet at month end or on the first of the month, you can actually set the system to print that report off with this criteria and email it to these people. So on the next screen, we'll share a copy of these PowerPoint slides as well if people want to, but it's ultimately, I'm just telling you what it can do. You can customize what they look like, so you can change the look and feel of the reports. You can then set the criteria of what that detail is. Is it between this date and this date? And then you can say, send it to these people. So as examples for you there, that can be the accounting team automating and distributing profitability reports to project owners, or it can be the management team providing P&L and balance sheet reports to the directors automatically or on a month-end basis. It's just an automated way of you having to not remember to log in on a Monday morning and print off that same report you always print off. It will just do it for you and even send it to the people that you want to send it to. So it's a nice little tool, sits alongside other stuff, and like I say, complements some of the other things I've been showing you on this webinar so far. Next one is getting into some of the more advanced tools. We partner with a third-party company called Focus, who focus on providing information to cover a lot of these kind of topics at the top here. So, you know, it's the more kind of business analytics, it's dashboards, real-time views. And what this does is dives into the SQL databases in the back end. You continue using Sage 200 as you would use it, but this can dive into your Sage 200 database over here, your CRM database over there, your phone system up here, and another tool down here, and it can pull all that information together into one place for you. It's system agnostic, so it doesn't just need to live with Sage 200. You can look in other places. A few examples I've given you here are for performance insights. You know, we've got kind of sales by product type, sales margins. Again, those same look and feels as the Sage tools that I was showing you in the summaries. And on this one as well, this is a analytics and forecasting tool. So what are our sales and profitability year to date with
graphs, pie charts, you name it on there. And this is just scratching the surface. Natalie, myself, and Steve went down to see these guys probably a couple of months ago now, to be fair, and I was blown away by some of the stuff it can do, and even getting into some of the AI type of stuff where it's going to start making recommendations for you. So your stock movements and your stock replenishment and things like that, it can start to look into those kinds of information for you. And only fair to say as well that the tool that Sage recommend is Power BI, Microsoft Power BI. They can plug into the SQL database. That again does a similar thing. It dives into the database, pulls the data out in whatever format you want it. You can display this. You do need somebody with Power BI knowledge on the team to be able to kind of do this. But yeah, the world's your oyster with this one, because it's again can go into anywhere. It's free of charge, I suppose, for the Power BI license to do the simple stuff. But then you can go through the scales and get things to do things more automatically for you as well if you want. But yeah, they're probably for another session, probably to go into more detail if you need to, but it's only fair to mention them because we're going through the scales here. Like I say, the printed out reports in Report Designer to the Excel reports, which are a little bit more flexible, the summary screens, and then also these dashboards, which again can be then displayed and viewed by people on TVs in offices or sent out to people and published to people so they get that information in the format that they like to see it. So I think I've already done this recap, but again, just to recap and obviously open up the floor for questions in a second if anybody's got any. Hopefully I've shown you some of the Report Designer basics, how to amend layouts, move fields, add logos, do things like that, and how to save them. Again, don't get me wrong, I was tripped up in the first few years, so it's easy to get tripped up with it. But yeah, just a few rules and tips about where to save them and where not to save them and how that all works. What is Excel reporting for those people who've never seen it? How you edit them and how you upload custom ones or how you change those fields on there. Some of the nice tools, I think, and time-saving things in the document distribution, capture and automation type of range of products. And then there is obviously the advanced reporting at the end as well for those people who want it. It's a common thing these days, I think, people wanting to see things in different ways. And rather than it just being a printed out screen with kind of like words on it and numbers on it, you actually want to see that in kind of different formats and colourful formats, I think, so that you get it in a more readable and understandable way. That concludes my part of it, I think. But just before we kind of potentially lose anybody or anybody goes anywhere else, I just want to let you know that we are doing another 2 or 3 of these at least. And the next one coming up is on the 4th of November with one of my colleagues. This is going to be around automating processes in Sage 200. So hopefully following on a theme. We're all out here trying to make you get the most out of your system, to make it so you get more efficiency, more automation, you're not spending all your time doing manual tasks. And I think that's what this next session is going to be around, what things are out there either in the system or that you can plug into the system to make life a little bit easier for you on a day-to-day basis, because that's what we all want, I think, isn't it? And there'll be more information coming out about that one, but this is just to whet your appetite that it's again around Sage 200 and again looking at a few things around that could be useful. So yeah, thank you for listening. I think I've done all right on timing, to be fair. It's about right. And for those who know me, I could go longer. But yeah, thanks for listening. And we'll see if there's any questions. I'll stop sharing my screen. And if there are any questions, happy to answer them or get back to you if I don't know the answer.
There's already one question in the chat. And I've unmuted everyone. So if anyone wants to unmute themselves, you can do it and just ask questions straight away, Andy.
Good stuff. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for sharing the links to the report library, Sean, and everybody. Yeah, that's all good. Can you remove values you don't want to share in the Excel reports? I'm trying to think what we mean by that. So on the Excel reporting tool, when you remove, it just comes out as a...
Oh, sorry, Andy. I believe it was asked when you were showing the Excel reporting and we were looking at workspaces and things, if that adds any context. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So on the workspace stuff, the summaries and things and so yeah. The only way you can remove access to that is by taking it off people's menu. So you would remove it from their menu and they can't access that part of it, and then they'd have to find it in a different way. If it's the Excel reports where I was going into the Excel reporting tool and then displaying that as an Excel report, again, you can add and remove those from the system. You could delete them if you don't want people to see them, and you can control which ones in that menu people can see. Again, if it's a specific, I suppose, with it, then feel free to reach out to us afterwards. I'm maybe not answering the question right there for anybody, but yeah, most things are tweakable, and you would either remove it from a menu or it's a physical report that if you've printed out, it's up to you then who to share it with.
we've got a question saying, is there a way to update the signature that Spindle adds to the email as it's currently using an old one? Absolutely, yes. Probably best to share my screen up again for this one, just to show you. So let me get out of that. I seem to be still presenting. So yeah, so I'm guessing this is a Spindle user already. So within your Spindle settings for whatever type of document it is that you're doing, you have these automation processes down this side. In an invoice, when I'm sending it to my clients, in the email settings, there is an ability to go into here and actually say what the message body says. More often than not, people would put their signature in here, and this is where you maybe need to kind of look into HTML to get logos on if it's a complex signature, but you can absolutely kind of go into this and edit whatever the signature shows. So in here, you type in what you want to see, and then at the bottom it would be kind of the regards, Andy Barker, that kind of stuff. And I know this is coming out wrong, but you can do this in kind of, you can do HTML format. So if you've got somebody who's got the ability to put that into a HTML format, we've had many customers who've just dragged and dropped that into there, then it comes out and looks as you'd want it to on the message body when it sends it from email. So yeah, you can send it. You can change them inside those fields, though. Is the simple answer. Inside any one of the documents that you're doing, you've got the email settings field. And then if it's wrong details in terms of phone numbers and email addresses, just to let people know, inside your Spindle settings, if you're the one that's sending the email, you can actually refer to these fields. So if I'm saying kind regards first name, then my first name in here would be Andy. If it's please get in touch using my email address, then it would be looking at this email address in here. So down in your user settings in Spindle, you can actually change that detail as well. And that's on a user by user basis. So hopefully that answers that one as well. Don't think we've got any more questions at the moment, which is good. Good for me anyway. Yeah. If, like I said, there'll be more contact after this, I think. We'll send out the recording. You'll get a copy of that. And if anything kind of piques your interest again that we've said during that, or I didn't quite say it in enough detail for you, then by all means, yeah, just let us know and we can kind of go into more detail. Abby and Shauna, your account managers, obviously they are your kind of point of contact for most other things as well. And we work really closely with each other in the office quite a few days a week. So yeah, we can chat and talk about things as well if needed. But yeah, thank you again for everybody for listening, and I hope it was useful. I hope there's a few things that I said that people didn't know about. And yeah, I guess from there, feel free to drop off as and when you're ready to.